WTBR-FM, Pittsfield.
Welcome to Ham on WTBR, the all-inclusive ham radio show for hams and non-hams alike. Be part of the show. Contact us on www.facebook.com/HamJamTV. And now the hosts of the show, Peter and Jessica. Ham on.
Catchy tune. Huh?
It is a catchy tune.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Berkshire County in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. This is Ham on, the ultimate radio show. And
quintessential.
back in our midst here in the studio after a brief
hiatus
yes. Is Susie.
Yeah, here I am. Thank you so much.
And
it's good to be back amongst all of you hammy folk.
I know, and look, the sun came out. Oh my!
I know.
Goodness, I want to play today.
So we're going to start off here. So we had a VE session on Sunday or on Saturday.
Could you tell listeners who don't know what that means what a VE session is?
Exactly,
Peter.
Have you been listening to the show at all? Podcast. It was the ham radio test. We give in order to have this lovely license that we have, and
That's
they let
right.
us play on all these bands. You need to have a test.
That's right. It's hard. They're hard.
Not really.
Well,
the two people we had went from 0 to general.
Stop it.
In one sitting.
Really?
Yeah.
That's impressive, Peter. And tell the listening audience how they made it to the VE session.
Probably in their car.
Okay. You're so literal.
Sounds like it's on the outskirts of some town somewhere. It's right in downtown Pittsfield.
That wasn't my question.
In other words, how did they study for?
Well, I don't know how they studied for it, but I know what Susie was getting at. One of them actually, I was talking to him after he passed the test at the end of the session, and said, "I got the information from your show."
See,
so the show is reaching out to everybody, so that's nice. So if that guy is listening. I do have, if you drop me an email, kd2jkv@gmail.com, I do have the brochure that Ray's been talking about.
That's right.
For a couple of months. I actually have that, and I can get that out to him.
If I drop you an email, will you send me that brochure?
I can send it to you.
Okay, all right. I want to see that.
Okay.
All right.
I can't do it right now because the phone's kind of tied up with other business
a little bit.
over
All right.
here.
Well, after we're
all right. So the trivia question before we get to other things. You can't look it up. Turn your phone off.
My phone is upside down and away from me.
This actor, writer, and producer. One of the best-known works were the Larry Sanders Show. In 2016, he became a silent key.
Oh.
Who was he? So
he's an actor, writer, and producer, and his best-known work was Larry Sanders.
Yeah, it was an actor, writer, and producer, and his work was Larry Sanders.
I mean, I can see his face. I'm not recalling his name.
When I tell you who it is, she's going to be on the floor. Watch. All right, so we have an urgent appeal for the Boston Marathon. For more volunteers. This year, we have worked hard to build up our volunteer number so that the mission may be accomplished. Unfortunately, we've been met with the lower than hope for volunteer applications. So here's our urgent appeal for help. Please spread the word personally that comms volunteers are needed at the marathon. In particular, we are seeking amateur radio communications for course medical tents, hydration stations, transportation, medical sweep, and express buses, and operators in the course net control operations center. Please tell your local amateur radio clubs and your licensed friends about the need. To volunteer for the following information immediately, to contact at hamradioboston.org. Send your full name, your address, your amateur radio call sign. Do you have a current Red Cross or other CPR certification? What is your jacket size, male or female? What is your assignment area preference? start, course, finish, whatever. The marathon is April 20th, 2020. 420, 2020.
420,
So
2020.
420 would be April.
That's what I just said. It's April 20th, 2020.
Yeah, that's what he
So,
said.
anybody from... What are you raising your hand for? This is at school.
420.
I'm just indicating that
People
I
on
have
the
a
radio
follow-up.
can't see you. Can't see you raise your hand. Only the people on PCTV can see you raise your hand.
Right. Well, tune into PCTV for the simulcast. I'm just indicating that I have a follow-up question. And so if you wanted to volunteer to work the marathon, what sort of equipment do you need?
A radio?
but like
Preferably. I don't think we can do it with smoke signals.
well, what I'm saying is, if somebody
HT.
doesn't have something, will it be provided?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm
all
pretty
right.
sure everybody has an HT.
Right on.
I've got
All
like
right.
5.
You have like 5. Okay, good. I have 1.
I have like 5. You just have to. I guess they send you the frequencies they're going to use in Boston, and you just
tune them in okay,
program them in.
program them in. Okay.
I just read this stuff. I don't create it.
Okay. All right, Peter.
So, looking for volunteers for the Boston Marathon.
Yay, cool.
April 20th, 2020. And we are making progress with maybe a slim down field day here in Western Mass. I talked to Eric at the club, and he's willing to let us use the Windsor venue for the field day. I've got a couple of confirmations.
Mm-hmm.
Susie said she'll come do
Absolutely.
it. She's actually going to make the food for the event.
Yep, I'm going to coordinate the food. And Field Day is a really, really exciting and interesting event. If you're curious about ham radio at all, you should show up. And you have opportunities to get on the air, try out some different communication methods.
Even the non-hams this time can get on the air because we're using the club call.
That's right.
So as long as there is a control op, quote unquote, there with us, with them, which is either one of us or whoever shows up.
Sure.
They can get on the air and transmit.
I remember that I did it when we did it in Albany because I used the club call and I was helping you take down the call. I was helping you take down the call signs. And I think I actually transmitted a couple of times.
You actually got on the air and made some contacts for a little while.
It's really fun.
So field day.
I mean, I was nervous as all crud because
Yeah, of course.
I wasn't used to talking on the ham radio.
Yeah, of course.
Field
but this
day,
is a way to get over that
Field
nervousness.
Day is the last weekend in June.
Yes.
So if we get the event, we probably set up. Well, we're not going to use towers and that, so we could set up Saturday morning. I think it starts like 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon. We actually start transmitting.
What for your guys' field day? Usually go ahead and get towers up on Friday.
And, I talked to the people up at Nobark, up at the club, and their big thing is, they're getting older. They don't want to be lugging towers around.
And nobody wants
terrible.
And nobody wants to.
So
come on, guys.
I suggested, you know what?
Pony up.
No, I suggested put up a couple of radios, put up a couple of dipoles, some wire antennas, and go with that, and just do what we can do, and think of something bigger next year. This is just to get us back up and running, but what we do need are operators willing to come, even if you operate for an hour or two during field day, because we can't leave it up to me and Darlene and Susie and James. We need, a few more operators. Just come on in for an hour or two. Come operate. Come make some contacts.
If you can't do the whole 24,
you don't have to be like I did at the Troy Club or the East Greenbush Club and show up for the whole 24-hour session.
Well, last year, I went to field day in I think it was Philmont or the Claverack Park, and I showed up at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
And stayed until 8 a.m. and it was a blast. And there were people there. They were transmitting. It was active. It was interesting.
So I mean, if you want to come, do come 3 o'clock on Sunday morning and come operate for a couple hours. That's
Have some
fine.
food.
If you want to come, 4 o'clock in the afternoon and operate for a couple hours, that's fine as well. If you're
Exactly.
interested in field day, drop me an email, kd2jkv@gmail.com. I am
And
taking names and numbers of people who want to participate in field day. Anybody in Berkshire County, North County, Central Berkshire County, South County, because Susie's from South County.
I am.
And my friend James is from New Hampshire, so he's going to come down and work probably most of it.
And what the heck, there might be some people that sit there and do it and transmit for the first time and go, this is pretty cool. I don't want to continue using a club call. Maybe I want to get my own call.
And even for the non-hams,
It might spice it up.
can show up to our venue in Windsor. I'll give you the address and everything once I get it from the club. And you can come on the air. And you don't even have to be licensed at this point. You can come on the air. There'll be a control op there. And you can come on, transmit, and you can see what the wonderful world of amateur radio is. And then maybe you'll be sitting in a test session.
A VE session.
VE session, a test session, getting your amateur radio license.
That's correct.
And doing all this other stuff.
And also for the people, first time testing, don't get discouraged if you go ahead and fail the first time. First you don't succeed, try again.
Yeah, the
There's been a
first
few-
one's not that hard.
There's been a few.
It's not that hard.
There's been a few ham radio operators that we know that have failed the test once. They went back, and next thing you know, they're almost extra.
Well,
yeah,
I failed my general when Peter was overseeing my session. Remember that? And then a couple weeks later, I took it somewhere else and I passed.
Darlene failed her general twice before she finally got it, and she actually got it up here at the No Bar Club.
Nice.
She got her general.
Exactly.
So, but yeah, I mean, people,
Sometimes you get nervous. Sometimes you write down the wrong answer.
and then we had
Sometimes your pencil flies out of your hand.
like we had. Well, like last week.
Sometimes a tornado.
like last week, we had the two people at the VE session at the community room, Berkshire Bank. They started with nothing, and they left with their generals.
That's impressive. That's impressive.
So for a small fee,
For a small fee.
For a small fee, we can set you free, and you can because if you pass the technician test, then the general test is free. If you pass that one, then you take the extra test, and that is free. You can go all the way up on a very small.
Right.
Fee.
You have to pay the initial.
You have to pay the initial fee to take the test,
And then you can continue testing
as
through.
long as you pass the test, you
Right.
can. And then if you fail the test by some means, and you feel like you messed something
then
up,
you should be ashamed of yourself.
and
Just
you
kidding.
want to take it again
Just kidding.
for another small fee, we can set you free again. But
That's right.
yeah, so field day is a good thing. So I'm looking for operators that want to come do field day, operate for an hour, 2 hours, 10 hours, whatever it may be. As we go on here, as we get closer to the June date, I'll have the information for the venue in Windsor. I'd like to thank the Northern Berkshire Amateur Radio Club
Yeah.
for letting us use the
Thank you.
venue up in Windsor.
Thank you, No Bark.
I swear,
Thank you, Eric.
I swear,
K-A-1-S-U-N.
I swear I was waiting for you to go for the use of the repeater.
For the use of the repeater. April 30th, Berkshire Bank Community Room. There's going to be a Skywarn training.
Cool. Ooh, can I do that?
Sure, you can do that.
April 30th?
April
Okay.
30th, 7 p.m., Berkshire Bank Community
Are
Room.
you teaching it?
No.
Okay.
99 North Street. No, National Weather Service is teaching it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're actually got somebody from NWS Albany coming in to teach it.
Really?
Yeah.
And so as a general, I can take that. training?
Skywarn's for everybody. You don't
Okay.
have to be an amateur radio operator. All
Okay.
Skywarn is, it turns you into a weather spotter. So, if like something happened down in Nashville over the weekend, with the tornadoes, if you're out and there's power lines down and we're getting 90 mile an hour winds and all that stuff, you report to the National Weather Service, and that goes out over the air. So the meteorologists on television, if you get those reports, there's power lines down on North Street in Pittsfield. They came from the weather spotters. It goes from the NWS to the media. So anybody can do this. It's a free course. No money involved.
Wow.
Yeah, and you don't have to be an amateur radio operator to do it. However, if you are, I'm not sure about South County. I'll find out. But I know up on the K1FFK, we have a Skywarn activation net
Cool.
that will activate once National Weather Service tells us to activate. So that's
Wow.
April 30th, Skywarn training. It's about 2 hours, and the National Weather Service will be here to take care of that, which segue into next week.
Okay, next week.
Next week,
Listen
calling into this radio station, Massachusetts native, chief meteorologist for WTEN Channel
Chief
10.
meteorologist. I didn't know they traveled in tribes.
and of course, Pet Connection. We're talking about none other than
funny.
Steve Caparizzo.
Steve Caparizzo.
will be calling into this radio station.
Amazing.
All right, Cap.
So thank you, Steve Caparizzo.
Yes, thank Cap.
And Channel 10 for...
It's
for-
exciting.
Yeah, we're going to talk weather.
I love talking about weather.
Well,
I
you're
do.
gonna have to
I
be
really
here,
do.
huh?
Yeah. I'll have to be here.
We're going to talk weather, and then we're going to segue into, because he loves to talk about Pet Connection.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Great.
I don't think I can get him on the air, get him off the air without talking about Pet Connection.
Sounds
So,
good.
We're gonna. Oh, we got like.
Oh.
Go to the news, because I've been talking for 20 minutes.
Oh. Now
Can't-
we
can't-
remember.
Can't shut you up. It was the coffee.
Coffee. Let me see. Do you want local or do you want...
I want local.
I don't know. Just give us a story or something, because at some point
Just
we're going to have to
whatever
take our
news
break.
you have.
Wherever you pick up first.
Yeah, whatever news you have, I'd say.
Let me see. New England Science Tech Weekend General Course will be held on March 21st and 22nd. It is held for junior high students, high school students, homeschool students, or adults who already have a tech license. It is a fast-paced 2-day course. It's actually to help you get ready for your general license.
Very interesting.
The topics range from the science of radio electronics to the FCC rules governing the radio spectrum. So basically, it's a it's what it would be technically a study course then.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a general test study course. Cool.
That is cool.
Some primary reading and preliminary, there we go, reading and studying is necessary to get the best results for the course.
Right, don't just show up cold, is what
exactly,
they're saying.
They'll send you material a week before the course. So it's not like you're not totally going in blind. The general license course will be held Saturday of those 2 days. It will be held at 8:30 to 5 p.m. and Sunday 8:30 to noon. Followed by the that's just for the testing level course. Followed by the FCC general exam at noon. It will be at the New England Science Tech 16 Tech Square, Natick.
Natick?
Natick. I'm new to...
I know, you're new to Mass, and when do you ever get to Natick, really?
I'm new to New England. Leave me alone.
It's all right. Welcome. Welcome to New England.
Included in the course fee will be printed handout, study guide, and the license fee to be tested at the location. Guest passes to the Near and Stars radio room. Radio club meetings for 2 months, so they're handing out.
Again, for a nominal fee, we can set you free. And if you want to know the fee...
And, of course, free coffee, tea, hot cocoa will be done through the course.
Wow.
Right. And if you want to know the fee, you can always email me, and I can put the fee for you, how much it is in email.
And yeah, you can either email.
You can email me, or I'm sure there's an email address on that
there,
thing somewhere.
Then nescitech.org and it has the email for.
So it'd be like New England SciTech, nescitech.org.
Yep.
Okay.
Or you can call at 508-720-4179.
Okay, and we will be back after the break.
After the break.
Looking at me, he's heading for that small moon.
That's no moon. It's a station.
I think you're right.
Hello, my name is Sergeant Mark Madalena with the Pittsfield Police Department. As you know, decisions we make every day can affect us for the rest of our lives. What you may not realize is that you are 23% more likely to be involved in a collision while you are texting and driving. That means texting and driving makes you 23 times more likely to cause a crash. Every day in the United States, 9 people are killed and more than 1,000 are injured as a result of a crash caused by a distracted driver. Remember, put down the phone and arrive alive. Don't text and drive. This message is brought to you by the Pittsfield Police Department in cooperation with WTBR FM.
WTBR radar weather for the Pittsfield area. Today, mostly cloudy. A chance of rain or snow showers, mainly this morning. Breezy, cooler with highs in the lower 40s. West wind 15 to 25 miles per hour with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. Chance of precipitation 40%. Tonight, mostly cloudy. Cold with lows in the upper 20s. West wind around 15 miles per hour with gusts up to 30 miles per hour. Thursday, mostly sunny. Highs in the lower 40s. Northwest wind 10 to 15 miles per hour with gusts up to 25 miles per hour. Weather forecasts for WTBR FM are provided by the National Weather Service.
The Supportive Day Program, also known as the Happy Club at the Ralph Royal Senior Center, located at 330 North Street, Pittsfield, is a respite program for caregivers. Seniors who are facing various challenges will enjoy the devoted staff provides a safe and comfortable setting while playing games, dancing, exercising, attending field trips, and special events. Van transportation is available. Please call 413-499-9346 for more information.
You have chosen wisely.
WTBR.
And we are back on Ham On WTBR FM. On the phone from Natick, Mass. Joe W1hai, I hope I got the name right. W1hai. Joe, welcome to WTBR FM.
Thanks very much, Peter, and great to be with you, Jessica, and welcome back, Susie, as well.
Thank you.
Great to be on the program.
Thank you so much,
Hello,
Joe.
how are you?
So let's start off like we start with all my guests and tell us something about yourself.
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say congratulations to Peter on the new position as Assistant Section Manager for the Western Mass region, and glad that you are continuing in Western Mass Assistant Section Traffic Manager. So great on
cool.
that, Peter. And thanks for the opportunity to join you. I have fond memories of WTBR and 104.3 and coming out to talk with and know a number of listeners in your area. So it's great to be here.
Nice.
The musical cut that you played just before the top of the hour speaks to me because it was I was raised on the radio.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
we kind of took that from Coast to Coast AM
Yeah.
with Bart Bell and George Norrie. That's chased by Giorgio Moroder.
No, he's talking about the song on the animated that played before the show.
Right, the Raised
on the
Raised
Radio.
on
Oh,
Radio.
Raised on the radio. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's our automated stuff that we do before we go live.
Right. Well, that's me. Growing up, I used to listen to AM radio stations that were on during the day only, sign off at sunset, and listen to the transmitters go down in stages and all that kind of thing. and had an uncle, actually, who worked for the HRO of Boston back in the day called DeMambro Radio, and he was a ham, had his technician license. And that was probably the first amateur radio station that I ever saw. And then a club at the school I was going to had a station. And club operations, of course, are a great way to get involved in ham radio with the camaraderie and socialization. And, of course, what you were talking about earlier on field day is a great way to get to know people and operate and have some great food in the process.
Yes,
Exactly.
yes, of course. Break some
So,
bread.
That's right. So it went from that to the 11-meter band and then to ham radio when I was 16, and
cool.
I've enjoyed every single minute of it for 53-plus years
Oh,
now.
wow.
Oh, my goodness. God bless you.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's
quite
a
a
great
career.
hobby, and I've met people from down the street, 6 houses away, that I might have never met, to people when we've gone to travel in England and other places and brought ham radio with me then. So it's been a great experience. And, of course, now hooking up with Peter with this west to east connection on the Heavy Hitters traffic net is another example of bringing people together to share a common bond.
Nice. So could you illuminate what heavy hitters means?
Excellent question. I was going to mention that, yes. The Waltham, Mass. Amateur Radio Association, which still exists, basically had a baseball team called the Heavy Hitters baseball team.
Okay.
And out of that came a Eastern Mass traffic net called the Heavy Hitters Traffic Net. This is back in 1970-72.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
And it still exists with that name today, even though we've changed frequencies and added Echolink and various aspects to build it even further. The name still follows it along, and it's a question that a lot of people ask, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, and speaking of the Heavy Hitters Traffic Net, explain a little bit how it's all set up, because you've got like a lot of repeaters set up on that network. When I go through the preamble every Sunday, it's 10 minutes long because we have so many repeaters that are hooked up in there in Eastern Mass.
Right, exactly, and we're working on a couple of others, actually.
my goodness.
One is in the testing stages, so we haven't rolled it out formally yet, further south of the area. And I've been after a couple of folks up north toward North Shore to try to extend it that way. But basically, thanks to the Minuteman Repeater Association, which has a dozen repeaters in the Boston area itself, out to Worcester, basically have given us the ability to link all of those together to automatically, before the top of the hour at 10 p.m., to connect Echolink into the system automatically and enable us to have Peter and folks from Florida, as we have, and others who can check in from anywhere to be able to join us. And then there are other repeaters that are kind of affiliates who drop in from time to time or connect in and out or whatever. There's arrangements to be made. And so that's why we're looking at expanding this even further in the Boston area. And actually, Peter, you and I should talk at some point about trying to expand it, if we could, into a repeater with RF in the Western Mass area and beyond. Would love to be able to make
You
that
must have been
connection.
reading my mind, because I was just going to sit here after you were done and say, once we get the password situation set up for Echolink, and that's the only thing holding the Echolink from being up, is there's a couple, the club gave us a bad password, so once we get that, which should be resolved shortly, otherwise we're ready to go. I was just sitting here going, how about we have the Echolink for my traffic nets, how about we just bring Heavy Hitters Traffic Net to K1FFK?
That would be fantastic if we could explore that. That would be terrific. That way there, it would allow more people to get on from the Western Mass area and also give you and others options to be able to go that way as well. So the more the merrier, and that's the way that traffic handling, message handling, public service, you talked about the marathon earlier, all of these things are great ways to be prepared in case of any sort of emergency or various aspects that go on. And, of course, that goes back to the beginnings of ham radio back in the teens and experimenting with broadcast operations that really started the AM broadcast band. And now, of course, as we're doing this on FM and the Internet and everything else, it brings it all into perspective. It was kind of the original social media, if you will, with ham radio.
It's true.
How far, what was the, I'm trying to think of how to word this. What exactly is the farthest station you've ever gotten on the Heavy Hitters Net?
KD2JKV.
Well, it depends on if you're talking about over-the-air versus Echolink. And Echolink is an Internet connection that allows ham radio repeaters where, you know, they're on top of hills and can pick up signals and repeat them back out again, as you know. It allows another Internet connection so that people from all over the world, in fact, I have a connection here at my house for Internet, and it goes to our repeater here locally in Natick. And it's amazing that people from Japan and all over the place just wander on in and say hello and have a nice chat. Sometimes they put it in their favorites and come back more often.
Oh,
and
wow.
We had one guy who was here last year from Colorado, and his son works and lives here in Natick, and he was visiting and brought his handheld with him, chatted with all of us, and we have a net on Monday nights, and he was back in this past Monday and has been quite regularly for the past year, joining us from his home in Colorado by using Echolink. So
oh my goodness,
it's a great way of connecting people together. And I know some people think that ham radio should not be the Internet and, you know, the purest sense of it. My view is it brings people together, but you have the over-the-air technology to be able to transmit in case of an emergency, in case things go down. You have enough redundancy to stay on the air and to be involved in your community.
And just so you know, there's no prize involved, but you are actually our third guest from Eastern Mass. We started.
That's right. I know at least one other. Yes.
Yeah, we started this with KW1U, Marcia Ford, who the section traffic manager for Western Mass, who drove in from Concord to do this show.
Yes,
she spends more time with me in Pittsfield than she does anywhere else. And of course, a few weeks ago, your buddy Ralph N1LAH was on the show. So you've got the number 3 spot.
Nice.
Well, thank you
the
very
bronze.
much. And, you know,
is the bronze.
This whole thing about Western and Eastern Massachusetts, you know, there are a lot of people in the Boston area who think that Massachusetts ends at 495, Route 495, or at most in Worcester.
That's right. That's right.
And
they do.
Could not be further from the truth.
Right.
And there's a lot of commonalities, and I know in Pittsfield you have more influence probably with Albany than you do with Boston.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Our broadcast stations here, you know, Channel 10, Channel 6, Channel 13. Our Skywarn training is provided by NWS Albany. So, yeah, we're kind of still in the Albany market over here.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. But you're in Massachusetts, and I think that every community, Pittsfield certainly, and every place else in your listening area is well within the confines. And that's the great thing about ham radio, is that it brings people together in this kind of divided society that we often live in.
Yes.
Ham radio operators are able to talk to one another, hear their voices, hear their operations, hear what they're running, and be able to interact in a common way that can help in society overall.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
I've really enjoyed my explorations on Echolink and such.
Echolink is fun.
Yes.
It's really fun. I joined I was messing around on Echolink one night, and I joined a trivia contest out of Michigan or something. And won. It was great. Yeah.
If you can get a break from the station,
it's awesome. If I can get a break,
Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 p.m. local. I'm doing the script now. You can join us on the Heavy Hitters Traffic Net on NEW-ENG2.
All right, I'll text you.
Yeah, I'll text you that.
Okay.
And speaking of Heavy Hitters Traffic Net, Joe, why don't you tell us about the Heavy Hitters Traffic Net, how it got started, what all repeaters are involved, all the good stuff.
Okay, very good. Let me put in a shameless plug for those who may be listening who have Echolink. Feel free to come on by and say hello at Whiskey 1 Hotel Alpha India. That's W1hai-R on Echolink. And you'll be connected to the Natick repeater, which is a RACES, or a Town of Natick-owned repeater at the Public Safety Building here. And we have a net on Monday nights at 8 o'clock on that network. So by all means, feel free to drop by at any point and say hello. Yes, the Heavy Hitters has had a great tradition, as had some other nets, of course, across the Commonwealth. And it's a way to provide information on Sunday, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And we do it on those nights because we complement a Mass Rhode Island phone net on 75 meters on 3978 kilohertz. Another shameless plug.
That's all right.
On Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. So there's a rationale here for why we pick the nights we do, and so forth. And that is available on 75 meters and can cover a much wider area, and always looking for folks from Western Mass. And
Great.
I know, Peter, you've been involved in that to bring traffic to Eastern Mass after coming off of regional nets. So the Heavy Hitters is a local Boston area, theoretically, or Massachusetts, we're striving toward net that can bring traffic from regional nets that cover a wider area, and a whole system that's out there that can bring messages to and from stations from around the country or elsewhere to your local community and to a local person. And it's always great to be able to get a message going to someone who's not a ham radio operator, call that person, and be able to explain what the message is and what ham radio is and so forth. And there have been some people who have gone on to get their licenses. By
As
the
a
way,
result, yeah.
As a result of that. We had a new ham come on to our Natick net the other night who lives here in Natick, and he sat down at a exam session, a VE session, a couple of weeks ago in Marlborough, and went from nothing through and got his extra.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, we had that on
amazing.
Saturday all the way up through General. And while I have you, so I don't have to put this over to the repeater, our times have changed for the Western Mass Traffic Net, Joe. So we're at 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. And the Echolink is kind of a password away from being up. We moved the Western Mass Traffic Net, as everybody knows, because I got tired of holding traffic for 20 hours.
Oh,
and it
I can't imagine why.
Well, because we were at
Some of them are
10 a.m. and 1 p.m. And well, the idea is when you get NTS manual, you want to try to get it in the system within 24 hours. Me sitting holding it for 20 hours is not happening. So we have
That's
1
what I was
p.m.
gonna
is
say.
cycle 1, and then we have the first region net. 2 and 3:30, and then 4 p.m. is Western Mass Traffic Net, so we can get that traffic out. And other than the NQI and N1IQI traffic, which I seem to take a lot of off of First Region Net, but
Well,
yeah,
we're delighted you're able to pass that along through us to them as well, which goes from one net usually to another on the Boston and directly to him. So that's a terrific way to have this kind of connection.
Yeah, so tell us where all the repeaters are set up, because I know you got 220, a 440, you got some 2-meter systems. So tell us where all of the repeaters are set
And
up.
how many repeaters are we talking about? Too many.
Well,
okay. We'll be here for
12
another hour, folks. No.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah,
I'll give you the elevator comment on this. There are 12 repeaters at least into the system. And
wow.
The nice thing about being a member of the Minuteman Repeater Association is once you are a member, you can go in and with your touch tone pad on your microphone. You can add or eliminate or take down to a local. In other words, some of them are linked together all the time, so that when you talk through one, you're talking through 4 or 5 others.
Right.
To downtown Boston on top of the Prudential, to north of Boston in Reading, to south of Boston in Quincy, to out to Marlborough near 495, to Weston near 128 and Mass Turnpike in between, and Mendon, which is almost on the Rhode Island line. So some of those are always connected together, but with a code you can actually disconnect. If you want to talk to somebody local, you can just take that repeater off the line, and then after so many minutes of inactivity, it automatically goes back into the system or goes back to its original configuration, whatever that is. So it's a very smart, software-driven system that is really great, and the Minuteman Repeater Association folks do a terrific job in maintaining that, and you know how it is with repeaters. They're up on hills and mountains and the snows of the winter and everything else to get to them, and people go through all kinds of hoops to be able to keep these maintained, not to mention the internet and other connections that go into that. So we're internally grateful to all of them for being able to make this all happen in such a seamless way, and it's, again, great to have a wider connection to make this all go about. And
yeah,
so it's great.
We know about repeaters on top of hills. K1FFK is on top of Mount Greylock, 3,000 feet in the air. So we talked earlier, or we didn't talk earlier, but I put out earlier about the Boston Marathon. Is MMRA involved in anything with the Boston Marathon?
Oh, yes, very much so. Their repeaters get taken into configuration, taken off their linking systems, and put into a process so that when you are in the marathon and working at a particular location, you're assigned one of the repeaters. Waltham's repeater, Boston's repeater. They're almost every single repeater west to east from Marlborough and that direction into Boston in one way, shape, or form gets utilized in some aspect. And so when you made the call earlier about the need for more operators for the marathon, absolutely bring a couple of handhelds with you, find out, you'll get some coordination about what repeaters to put in, what their PL tones are, and so forth, so you're able to come in and seamlessly get on whichever you're assigned to. And also have a couple of extra batteries that are charged so that if you need to swap out, you're able to do that quickly and keep on going. So there are a number of those protocols.
That's a great reminder.
So we're gonna put Joe on the spot before we go to break.
Joe on the spot.
What are chances of somebody from, I don't know, Eastern Mass coming to help us out with Field Day?
I think there's a good possibility. I know you've got somebody from New Hampshire already slated, so if that could be the case.
Yeah, N1PZP said he was going to arrange to come down for Field Day.
Very cool.
That's what I kind of gleaned from what you mentioned earlier, so that's great. Yeah, maybe something can be worked out.
We'll be in touch.
Yeah, well, as assistant section manager, I was tasked by Ray, KB1LRL, to get Western Mass back up and running, and the only way to do that is presence. So if I have to bring people in from other places to get these things done, to get people up and to speed,
and excited and engaged.
They came from Eastern Mass, and they came from New Hampshire and New York to come do this. Maybe we should jump into the fray and help out.
Right.
Is that like the realtor's quote there? Location.
All right, we will be back with Joe. I hope I got your name right. Weiss.
It's actually Weiss, but
Weiss.
no one's counting. Yeah.
W1hai will be back. We'll be talking to him in the Heavy Hitters Traffic Net right after we come back from the break.
Awesome.
You're listening to Ham On WTBR.
WTBR.
Why don't you do the world a favor and pull your lip over your head?
I gotta say, these guests that you have, they're really good at talking.
Hi. I'm Megan Cooper, and I'm a transition.
I know, it's great. So it's like there's no hesitation. It's not like pulling teeth.
They aims to assist students
he's
with
great.
disabilities to reach a higher level of success.
All right.
The program works with all students in Berkshire County who are between 14 and 21 years old and on an IEP or a 504 plan. Students work with a transition counselor to develop goals based on their needs and interests, and then continue working with their counselor once a week.
Is it
towards
cool or?
Areas of service include, but are not limited to,
It's a
personal
lot,
health
probably.
maintenance, home management,
Okay.
transportation training,
Are you into it?
social and communication skills,
What's NCS?
self-advocacy, money management, job readiness, and college preparation.
Control
For more information, please
Okay.
visit our website at www.adlib.org
That's what I'm saying.
or contact me, Megan Cooper, at 413-442-7047, extension 30.
WTBR radar weather for the Pittsfield area. Today, mostly cloudy. A chance of rain or snow showers, mainly this morning. Breezy, cooler with highs in the lower 40s. West wind 15 to 25 miles per hour with gusts up to 40 miles per hour. Chance of precipitation 40%. Tonight, mostly cloudy. Cold with lows in the upper 20s. West wind around 15 miles per hour with gusts up to 30 miles per hour. Thursday, mostly sunny. Highs in the lower 40s. Northwest wind 10 to 15 miles per hour with gusts up to 25 miles per hour. Weather forecasts for WTBR FM are provided by the National Weather Service.
In the early hours after the tsunami, it was ham radio that was on the air, saving lives. When Florida was ripped by hurricanes, the hams were there. In the critical moments after the attack of 9/11, it was the hams who coordinated emergency messages. When disasters strike, the hams are ready. Ham radio works when other communications don't. To learn how you can become a ham radio operator, call the ARRL, the National Association for Amateur Radio, at 1-800-326-3942. WTBR.
Captain Kirk, there are Klingon soldiers on this station.
Yes, there are Klingon soldiers on this station. Welcome back to Ham on WTBR FM. We're here with Joe Weiss, W1hai, and we're talking about the heavy hitters Traffic Net. I wanted to bring something up because I remember, was it over the summer, Eastern Mass had a couple of tornadoes.
Yes.
Where did the MNRA and your guys there, the Heavy Hitters Traffic Net, help out with any of that going on? And is there an emergency protocol put in place? Because with the events of Nashville, do you have an emergency protocol put in place for your repeaters and the network if God forbid something like that were to happen on the eastern half of the Commonwealth?
There are a number of repeaters and sources that are involved in various aspects. Absolutely, MMRA with so many repeaters being one of them, and again, the ability to bring them down, emergency backup power in some locations, other aspects to be able to make sure that things are up and running. The other thing is I wanted to mention you had a great plug for a training for Skywarn coming up at the end of April, and highly recommend that. It's been a pleasure to be involved in Skywarn here and actually utilize the MMRA system, Waltham repeater, and Boston repeater to secure observations from folks during storms and so forth, and then send them back to Rob Macedo at National Weather. I have a funny story.
Wait a minute.
Story.
Wait, before you do the story, I forgot. You're number 4 because Rob was here. So we moved you to 4. I forgot Rob was here to tell us about Skywarn.
My stock is dropping by the minute here.
4 is still top 10, so.
Yeah, well, yeah, right. I know, it's like Election Day yesterday.
Right. Oh,
at
wow.
any rate,
I don't want to talk about that.
We won't go there.
No.
But what the Skywarn, a ham radio friend of mine in Westboro gave me a report for a snow depth on one storm a couple of years ago. And I reported that into National Weather, and his son, who was, I think, 13 at the time, was watching the local newscast, and the weather came up, and what came across on the bottom of the screen but the Westboro Peter, his observation. So it shows that it's very quickly utilized in various places, and it's a great way of, again, providing information to a federal agency that NOAA, that is, in this case, that can have that information from people on the ground who are actually in the middle of something. And radar and all these other great technologies are helpful, but there's no substitute for being right there, and that's what Skywarn, whether you're a ham or not, can provide and be a great contributor.
Now, we get a lot of flack because, you know, if the grid goes down, the repeaters go down. But when 9/11 happened, a couple of our hams up in eastern New York actually rolled a portable repeater up to ground zero and was able to get us back on the air to help with the efforts for the tragedy in 9/11. Do you guys have like portable repeaters? Like, say, you know, the grid goes down and the whole system goes down, because this is kind of what people are worrying about. Well, we talk about the cell towers and we talk about the grid going down, but you guys, repeaters will go down too. Do we have a backup plan in case the repeaters go down?
That's a great question, and thank you for asking that, Peter.
Right. Thank you, Peter. The answer is a combination of a couple of things. One, yes, there are some mobile repeater-type operations that can be utilized, and, of course, the state having trailers through MEMA, Mass Emergency Management Agency. And also the other thing is the importance to have direct communication between one station and the other. Sometimes the range may not be as far, or sometimes you have to use different frequencies in order to accomplish that. So you have to have all of these redundancies potentially in place. By the way, you know, most people have radio in their pocket these days and they don't even know it, and that is the iPhone. Because, I mean, really, when you think about what an iPhone does, it's sending a signal from the phone back to a tower, like a repeater for ham radio, and it's then being distributed into a network of whatever the provider is that you have. So radio deserves more credit than it gets by the fact that all of these technologies are built on radio waves, and radio, if it weren't invented to the extent that it is, you wouldn't be doing the things you're doing.
And in the worst case scenarios, when the cell towers do go down, like in Puerto Rico, nothing was going out.
Yeah.
So imagine, if you will, for the people listening, going, okay, what's all this big stuff about ham radio? Imagine, if you will, that all the radio stations, including TBR, goes off the air. Television goes off the air. Everything is gone. How are you going to get a message to your loved ones if you don't live here?
Exactly.
You're not.
No.
Puerto Rico learned that real quick when everything went down there after Hurricane Maria, and they had to send a force of 50 ARRL members down to the island down there to get messages, health and welfare messages, out of Puerto Rico to the mainland. This can happen anytime, anywhere. You could be walking down the street and your cell phone's done. You know, go to a Walmart, go to a Home Depot, see how much signal you're getting out.
Yeah. You're not.
Right, exactly. And you're right, Peter. And also, when these things happen, there's a protocol, and the protocol is getting messages out of the area of impact, but not to be able to send messages in. And I know that's difficult when people want to know about their relatives and welfare and life and all of that kind of thing. But the concentration has to work in the way of getting information out of the affected area first. And then once you get to a point later on and things are somewhat stabilized, then it's possible at that point, depending on the situation, to be able to get information back in and try to find people and get information back out to, you know, the mainland, for example, in this case. Or, you know, even the other day with Tennessee and the terrible tornadoes, there's, granted, it's not a full state or whatever, but there's an area that's impacted that took down all kinds of infrastructure, and so to be able to build that back up, to be able to communicate through it and around it and so forth, takes time, takes ingenuity, and it takes radio.
Yes.
Right, and with Aries aside, my whole thing here back in Western Mass, because no matter what job you do as NCS, be it Heavy Hitters Traffic Net, be it Western Mass Traffic Net, be it First Region Net, if the repeaters go down, K1FFK goes down, MMRA goes down, whatever, we still have HF. We can still get messages out, but in order to do that, we need trained net control stations that can pop on in a moment's notice and get messages out. And that's what the MMRA and the Heavy Hitters Traffic Net's all about. That's what the Western Mass Traffic Net is all about. And to get people involved that can, hey, email somebody, say, can you jump on, can you start a net? We have a problem, that can in there and start net control. And it's not even a thing about Aries or a thing about races. It's just to be able, in case, because you never know. We're way too dependent on the internet. Mm-hmm. We're way too dependent on our cell phones. Mm-hmm. We're way too dependent on all this other stuff. And as we learned in Puerto Rico, as we learned in the events of 9/11, as they're learning in Nashville, that can all go away in a split second. And all that is left are our ham radio operators that can run on solar power. We can run on batteries. We can run on gerbil power.
Yeah.
We can run on whatever we need to run on to get messages
That's
out.
amazing. Yeah.
This hobby is 100 years old. I know, we don't teach it in school anymore because this radio station used to be at Taconic High School, and now it's here at the PCTV studios in Pittsfield. 5 minutes left. I'm not going to ramble. So,
trivia question.
Trivia question. Oh yeah, we got Joe. We'll do a trivia question. We'll get our last thing.
Yeah, Joe. Maybe you know the answer to this one.
All right. So our trivia question is: he was an actor, writer, and producer. One of his best-known works were The Larry Sanders Show. In 2016, he became a silent key. Who was he?
I know this is the wrong answer, but the only person I can come up with is Gene Shepard.
No. He was KD6OY, none other than Gary Shandling.
Gary Shandling.
Oh, right.
The Gary Shandling
See,
show.
I knew it was him, but I mean, I saw his face in my mind, but I didn't remember his name.
All right, so we've got about 3 minutes.
Gary Shandling was a
comedian.
Yeah.
Gary Shandling Show. Then he did the Larry Sanders Show.
Right.
He's also a licensed ham operator. Right along there with Joe Walsh and Priscilla Presley and everybody else.
Right. Amazing.
And
So
we've had some very famous ham radio operators who have been in various careers, and kings and politicians and all kinds of people that ham radio was a part of their life.
And Marlon Brando.
Marlon Brando, Tim Allen.
Oh yeah, Tim Allen.
Arthur Godfrey, King Hussein, and Barry Goldwater, or Senator
Art Bell. As you can tell, I follow
Barry Goldwater.
As you can tell, I follow Art Bell because he's an amateur radio operator and he had a radio show too.
I used
Joe
to listen.
Walsh from the
I used to
Eagles.
listen to Coast to Coast.
So, then you should have recognized the tune when we first started this.
I know,
5 months ago.
Yeah, well,
so, Joe,
I'm a little
2 minutes left.
spotty at
2
times.
minutes left in the show. Anything you want to plug? Anything you want to put out?
Well, it's ham radio in general is certainly a great hobby, as I mentioned earlier, and I've just met so many great people, both locally and otherwise. We all have the various aspects, and there's so many choices of things that amateur radio operators can do, from digital now with computers to the internet to talking locally to being on nets that are more of a social concept to the traffic nets where we handle messages that go from one place to another, which, as Peter mentioned, is a great way to have you stay in your skills for emergency operations where you have to be quick, you have to be precise, you have to be accurate, and by doing this every night or every other night or whatever the case happens to be, you have that opportunity to keep those skills very sharp. So there's plenty for everybody, and ham radio is a great way to be able to go forward as a hobby and as a public service.
Correct, Joe, thanks for being
I really
on the
like
show.
Both aspects.
You were a great guest. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joe. You're great.
Thank you very much.
Jessica
and Peter and Susie.
Yay. All right, you too, man.
Hey, Joe W1hai, from the Heavy Hitters Traffic Net. We are out of here. We will see you next week with Steve Caparizzo. Will be calling us. We big
names.
Big boys coming in.
We got the heavy hitters.
On behalf of Peter.
And on behalf of Jessica.
And behalf of Susie.
This has been Ham On WTBR FM. We will see you next week.
We totally will.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.